Good evening, Zimbabweans in the diaspora, Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, and we want to thank you for joining us this evening as we delve into the topics that are making the trends today. Thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. And if you are just joining us, or if it is your first time here, please consider subscribing, hit the bell notification, share this live broadcast. If you want to be a partner of this channel, you can also be part of that. But before we go into our broadcast of today, which is very power-packed, if I can put it that way, there is something that I thought I need to share with you. There is a family that has reached out to me. This is not the only family. I'm going to share with you the other family that reached out to me. This family, they are appealing for help. And I want us to listen to their story before we get into our story of the day. Today, we're going to be talking about the continual incarceration of Blessed Mhlanga. And the issue, we've got two guests. The first guest that we're going to be having is Tonio, the chairman for the Zimbabwe Online Content Creators. And he is going to be talking to us on the state of Blessed Mhlanga. And then later on, we're going to have a political analyst, an economist, Mr. Ruben Tendai Mbofana, and he's going to be talking to us about what is happening in the political space and in the economic space and how we can deal with that. So that being said, let's talk about this video that I'm about to show you of this lady, this man actually. Let's hear the story.
Kune vanoda kundibata, namba dzangu ndedzidzi 0773 404 451 0773 404 451.
Makadi muri Zimbabwe. Iniwo ndirisisa maoko makukumbira rubatsiro. Ndiye woga akakwanisa kusvika level yeuniversity. Anofarira kudzidza. Chirwere chamubata chekensa chakumutadzisa kuti aite zvaanoda kuita muupenyu. Takukumbira rubatsiro kuti agokwanisawo kuzviitira nekuendererawo mberi nechikoro kuti asvike kumagumo kwaanga achida kuti asvike. Tikukumbirawo rubatsiro nekuti hatina kwatinokwanisa kuwana mari. Tatenda.
Hello, muri Zimbabwe makadii. Tinotwawo maoko muoni. I'm 24 years old. Ndasanganawo nedambudziko recancer. Ndakapedzawo degree program yangu kuUniversity of Zimbabwe muna 2024.
Good evening, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for joining.
Ndasanganawo nedambudziko rangu
I am joined by Ruben,
intermediate grade fibrosarcoma.
a justice advocate who
Dambudziko iri rakonzeresa kuti ndisagone kufamba, ndisagone kuzviitira zvinhu zvangu. Kana kuenda kudu toilet handichagoni. Ndinotoda mubatsiri kuti ndikwanise kupedza zuva rangu. Uyezve kuti dambudziko iri ripere, ndinoda kuendawo kuIndia kwandinonosangana nachiremba vane ruzivo nezvemafibrosarcoma. Ndinoda kuti matumors aya abviswe. Saka ndine tarisiro yekuti ndikakwanisa kuwanawo mari, rubatsiro rwemari rekuti ndiende kuIndia, ndinobatsirikana. So ndinokumbira rubatsiro muri yeZimbabwe. Ndikwanise kuwana mari inosvikawo 35,000 yekuti ndikwanise kuenda kuindia kunorapa. Ndinotenda kune vachabatsira. Kune vanoda kundibata, namba dzangu ndedzidzi 0773 404 451 0773 404 451.
Right. That is the message, people of Zimbabwe. So namba ndidzo dziri pascreen. Mukaenda paKwaedza munonosangana nevidhio yandiri kutaura pafacebook page reKwaedza. Ndo pane nyaya iyi. A family has reached out to us. They are in need of $35,000 so that they can assist Malcolm Muoni so that he can go to India. So please, if you can assist, if you have got money, you can donate to that number, EcoCash, and get in touch with the family so that they can be assisted. That is the state of our hospitals, and this is a stacking a fear that we have. These are some of the diseases that could be cured by adequate resources. And you remember that other day I was telling you about the story of 35 million that is being raised by our airtime for us to have our health system equipped. And these are the situations that tinozosangana nadzo. But that is the very, very sad situation, people of Zimbabwe, that we are meeting every day. That being said, very sad and very painful indeed to imagine, and especially now that there is a lot of foods that we are eating because we have no choice. We have to eat these foods that have got glyphosate. I know my brother, Benson Matinyarare, is on a crusade to make sure that people stop eating foods that are that have glyphosate, which has got a potential of causing cancer. So please be careful before you consume food. If you have the capacity, please avoid these foods that are being warned each and every day. Rather go natural, go organic, and find foods that can self-heal. That being said, let us get into the story of the day. We're going to be speaking to Tonio, the editor-in-chief of TechMag TV, who was at the court today and a day before yesterday in order to look at the story of Blessed Mhlanga. So let us just go into that conversation with Tonio as he speaks about the journalism in Zimbabwe. Is it at risk? Let us go into that conversation right away. Also in solidarity with our fellow journalist, Blessed Mhlanga. So I just wanted to hear from him as a journalist how it feels for him as an individual and in the journalism fraternity in Zimbabwe. My brother Tonio, how are you?
I'm doing good, my brother, and thank you so much for the opportunity and the time to have me here.
All right. You were there at the court hearing. You could scan the room and you were through the court proceedings. How was the room for you, and how did you take the situation in the court proceedings? I know there are some things that are sub judice that we can't comment, but in your overview of things, how did you see it, and what does it speak to this profession that we chose of journalism?
I think first and foremost, I would like to say we witnessed, I think for the first time in a long time, we witnessed journalism in a dock. What was being charged there was not Blessed Mhlanga. Blessed Mhlanga was not in the court, but journalism was in the court. And that is the reason why you saw we were there. We were also there in the court with journalism. We mobilized, we asked a lot of people to be there. Every journalist and content creator who's worth their salt was in that place. in solidarity, not only with him as a persona, but with him and his career, as we all felt that this was our career which was under siege. It's a travesty of justice to see such a day in court for journalism. We thought that we were improving relations, specifically with the states. Because besides me just being the editor-in-chief with TechMag TV and TechnoMag, I'm also the chairperson of the Zimbabwe Online Content Creators, an association that represents online content creators like Geza in Mhlanga too.
Yes,
And we've been having a couple of engagements with the state, engagements with the government, engagements with the ministry, engagements with the ZMC prior to the run-up of the last election, pre, post, and during. The environment was way much better as both the police and the government promised security and protection of the journalists. But what we are now seeing is a shocking U-turn of the government, whereby it has just decided to just go and attack journalism. And we are all stunned, shocked, and disappointed because we have gone 100 steps back after doing 20 steps forward, because we were all comfortable thinking that this has probably made a much more conducive environment for us instead to work together. So we are very much disappointed. We are disoriented, and the only thing we can do for now is to come together as a unit, as we come in solidarity in support of our fellow journalists, Blessed Mhlanga. We will always be behind him, we'll stand with him, because we strongly feel that he is what we are, and he's been incarcerated for exactly what we stand for and what we believe. The environment in the court, to be very honest, it was a sorry state. It was an initial hearing, of course, for bail application. And we had all hoped that the case was almost a crystal clear, easy one, whereby the state and the defendant made their plea very clear ones, and we thought maybe the judge would be able to actually make a determination to free him, so that they consider the merit of the case from home. That did not happen. He chose to have 2 more days. After 2 more days, he also chose to not to be available today for reasons that they gave us, and now they are pushing it for tomorrow. Travesty of justice indeed, and we can only hope for tomorrow, and suppose they say tomorrow 12 p.m. they'll be making a determination as far as the matter is concerned. What does this mean to an average journalist? Obviously, it's a chilling warning. It chills down the spine to anyone who wants to get into journalism. I think they are trying to set a very bad precedent that says, if ever you dare have such a show that challenges the state or the status quo, you shall be left on your own to be answerable. So it's more or less of saying there is freedom during the press conference and while you're practicing journalism, but there is no freedom after journalism, which is very much regrettable, and we strongly feel that that cannot be allowed to happen. They're trying to set a very dangerous precedent that intimidates and cows down every journalist, and it completely defeats the purpose of us being the fourth estate, because our job and our role is to hold states to account, and that is what we do. That is what we proudly do each and every single day, and they're challenging that, and we are very much disappointed, and we pray that sense will be found within the magistrate, specifically the judiciary system, to say that they cannot be seen to be incarcerating journalism in Zimbabwe. It has never happened in many years, and there is no reason for it to start now. And we keep encouraging all journalists, be it new, old ones, practicing ones, upcoming journalism students, to hold on to the pen, for the pen is mightier than any other sword. As we come and fight together as a whole sector, we shall hold on together. We will not leave anyone behind, and we do not believe that this is a personal matter. It's a sector matter, and we are holding on together, and we'll keep on fighting and pulling on together, because this is our sector that is under siege, and we are coming together and holding on for Blessed Mhlanga, for journalism, and for the future of our content creation together.
All right. You had an interaction with Blessed Mhlanga. How is his mood? Is he spirited or is he dejected by this we saw the other tweet that he posted, and he was saying that I can't sleep, and he was not. What was his state of mind when you saw him, even today or the other day? I saw he was he was smiling, but probably in your engagement with him, how is he? Is he in good spirits?
No, he was definitely in good spirits. He was smiling from the inside, but obviously he was also more worried. I think I I heard him also just having any other concerns like any father and man and husband would do over his family, their welfare, and all that. These are certain issues that he also spoke about. But him as a persona is in good spirits, and we had to be there to make sure that he also maintains the same good and high spirit. But overall, I think he's in good shape. He's looking forward, and we hope also for him that justice in the dock will come in, and it will be delivered for him. He hasn't committed any crime. He has not committed any crime,
Yeah.
and there's no reason to be worried at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a natural human being, he gets to get emotional and he might be worried and all that, but that is not a big matter. I think it's not worrying him.
All right, Tonio, the chairman for Zimbabwe Online Content Creators Association. Thank you so much for being here and for giving us your thoughts. Hopefully, we'll hear more from you when the bail application ruling is going to be heard tomorrow, and maybe we'll see whether he will be out or he will be in for some days. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Pleasure is all mine. We'll keep you posted. We'll be having some live Twitter updates there as the court happens, and we hope that he gets a favorable judgment. And once more again, we call upon all journalists, all content creators to throng the court in solidarity. He needs you. He needs your support. Journalism needs you. It needs your support, and we'll see you there. TechMac TV on Twitter.
TechMac TV on Twitter, yeah, that's
yes, TechMac TV. Yes, TechMac TV on Twitter. TechnoMag is another brand altogether that focuses mainly on the technology news, and TechMac TV is the one that deals with the general news.
Yeah. My apologies for that. TechMac TV.
No, it's fine.
Yes. So for all the updates of what is happening in court, they are giving you word for word of what is happening in court. There. Thank you so much, my brother, for coming through. I really appreciate it.
Fully appreciate it. Thank you, and have a good night.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That was the conversation that I had with Tonio, the editor-in-chief for TechMag TV. You can go and check it out tomorrow, as they are going to be dishing up updates on what is happening in court. So please go check them out on Twitter. They'll be giving live feeds of what is happening there. Very, very concerned as a journalist on what is happening to my fellow brother. That should be all of us. If anyone is, whether it is a combi or any sector of economy that you are in, you should be concerned about people, because injury to one is injury to all. That should be the clarion call to everyone. That being that as it may, I also had a conversation with the economist, analyst, and political analyst Ruben Tendai Mbofana on the state of journalism, and also commenting on the state of our opposition. Let's dive into that conversation once again as we hear Tendai Ruben Mbofana talking to us on this matter. So stay tuned as we dive into that conversation. Viewers and listeners, thank you so much for joining us. This evening, I am joined by Ruben Tendai Mbofana, a writer, a justice advocate who writes on his blogs and also on Newsday. And we are here to talk about what is really happening with the bail application of the incarcerated Blessed Mhlanga, the journalist. And we are going to dive into it and find out what is really happening also with issues to do with ZANU-PF, the faction of Geza, what is happening among other things. So we're going to delve into it. Mr. Mbofana, I wanted to ask you, you were there at the court when the bail application hearing of Blessed Mhlanga was taking place. What did you make of the environment and looking at the charges that are being leveled against Blessed Mhlanga? I know it's a matter that is sub judice, but generally, what do you make of all these things that we are seeing, the persecution that is happening within the voices that are the voices of dissent inside Zimbabwe? What do you make of all this? What picture does it paint to the international community when we see trumped up charges being leveled against independent voices and independent media?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Rusike. That's a very, very pertinent question. Remember when this so-called Second Republic came into power through a coup d'etat in 2017, the new president promised to do things differently. Not that we expected him to keep his promises, knowing that he had already been part of Robert Mugabe's government since 1980. He was part and parcel of that tyrannical rule that we witnessed under Mugabe. But we tried to give him a chance and say, okay, let's see what he will do. One of those...
Sorry, Mr. Mbofana, I think my connection I'd lost you a bit. You were still
about that.
Yeah, on the line of we are still talking about the Second Republic. You can continue on that.
Yes, so as I was saying, that when the Second Republic, or the so-called Second Republic, came into power, one of the things that the new president promised the people of Zimbabwe was that he was going to do things differently from his predecessor, Robert Mugabe, whom we knew had ruled the country with an iron fist, although the likes of the new president himself were part of this tyrannical rule as his ministers and everything else. So he promised President Mnangagwa that he will be opening up the democratic space, which also included respecting the freedom of the media. So you would find that that's what we expected, but that is not what we have seen. I'm just reading a report this morning that under the so-called Second Republic, the country's ranking, on the international, what we call the freedom of the media rankings, has been falling. Yes. Under this Second Republic. I might not have the figures offhand, but it's embarrassing. And yet this is a government that was saying that they're going to open up freedom of the media. They even went to the extent of removing AIPA, which we had all been condemning for the past decade or so when it was still in existence. But what did they do? They replaced AIPA with another draconian piece of legislation. Or this time they would bring this legislation and take these other things that were under AIPA and smuggle them maybe under the cyber security, what law and so forth. So you'll find that even today, freedom of the media in Zimbabwe is not what it is supposed to be. We see this with the case of our brother Blessed Mhlanga. I can't go into detail because the issue is at court, but one of the fundamental rights that are enshrined in the Constitution is the freedom of the media, the freedom of expression. The man was doing his job. So if you are interviewing me now, Mr. Rusike, if I'm to say something that is regarded or considered inflammatory or encouraging violence or insulting or denigrating to the president, who should be held to account? Is it you for interviewing me, or is it me, the person who has uttered those words? So you find that it will be really crazy, if I can use that term, to then take it out on you and accuse you for transmitting information or that is considered inflammatory or insulting to the president or inciting violence, and yet you were just carrying a message.
Yes.
that was uttered by someone else. That's why the whole arrest of Blessed Mhlanga poses more questions than answers, and saying he was just doing his job. He's a journalist. He interviewed Blessed Geza and other war veterans who are the ones who are supposed to have made those utterances. So where does Blessed Mhlanga come in all this? Why should he be the one to be arrested? Even if they are saying, why did the media organization itself carry that message? They should maybe the judiciary or the law enforcement will say they should have cut or not broadcast that message. But is that for Blessed Mhlanga to answer? Why are they not holding his employer? They are the ones who have the equipment. They are the ones who transmitted that message. It was not Blessed Mhlanga. He's a mere employee. You see, so if the state was sincere in their charges and their accusations, the ones that they should be holding before the courts are the directors or the executives of Alpha Media Holdings or Heart and Soul Television, and say, why did you transmit this message when the person that you had interviewed or the press conference that you had covered had said one or two things that were against the law, but yet they chose to target the journalist. Already that paints a very disturbing picture of a state that is not serious about respecting journalists, that is not serious about respecting the freedom of the media. If anything, the person that they should be holding to account or bringing to book is the person who uttered those words, who's Blessed Geza. And for that to happen as well, the courts have to first establish, did he say anything that is against the law to begin with? What exactly did Geza say that violated the law? What did he say that was an insult to the president? What exactly did he say that was inciting violence and the damage of property? What is it? We are not even told what it is exactly that Geza said. So for them to then jump the gun and go straight to arresting the journalist who carried the interview is a bit preposterous.
Okay, so you can go ahead.
Okay, yes. So what I am saying is that I believe the state jumped the gun. I might not be a legal expert, but what I believe should have happened, and even in consultation with other legal experts, is that first, before even charging Blessed Mhlanga with anything, there was a need to first ascertain in legal terms whether what Blessed Geza said was a violation of the law.
Yes.
So what should have happened first was for the courts, for a competent court to establish if there was any criminality to the utterances by Blessed Geza. If the courts were to establish that indeed Blessed Geza violated the law, maybe in insulting the president and undermining the office of the president, and even inciting public violence and damage to property, then what should have happened next was to charge Blessed Geza himself. If he was to be found guilty of those charges, that's when maybe they could have moved on to the media. But as I have said before, the media that carried Blessed Geza was Alpha Media Holdings. It was not Blessed Mhlanga. Blessed Mhlanga was a mere journalist. He was the mere interviewer, if it is based on an interview, but from my understanding, it was actually a press conference. So if there was any legal basis to charge the media house that transmitted that message that was deemed to have been insulting and undermining to the president and inciting to violence and damage to property, then the ones to be held accountable to answer was Alpha Media Holdings or Heart and Soul Television. Blessed Mhlanga in no way should be held accountable, should be brought to book for this issue. He was just doing his job. So this is my take on the issue. So the very fact that before they even established whether what Blessed Geza said was criminal, before they even charged Blessed Geza himself, they rushed to arrest the journalist. To me, that is just victimization of someone who has no case to answer. To me, that just shows a state which is afraid to confront the person, the real person who should be answering to any charges, who is Blessed Geza. I have a feeling that the state is too intimidated by him. They are not confident enough in holding, in bringing him to, and so forth and so before arresting Blessed Mhlanga, first find Blessed Geza. If he becomes a wanted man or a fugitive from justice, we wait until you catch him. Even if you catch Blessed Geza in 2050, you wait until you catch Blessed Geza before pursuing any other case against the Alpha Media Holdings or Heart and Soul, let alone Blessed Mhlanga.
Right.
So for me, this shows that the state is on a systematic attack on the media. They want to intimidate the media.
Yeah.
So if Blessed Geza or anyone else who's anti the establishment, anti this push for that, if they wanted a media outlet to carry their message, now journalists who are based here in Zimbabwe will be afraid. You know, imagine if he walks into Newsday, someone maybe Nox Chivero or some of the other people and say, no, we want you to interview us or to attend our press conference. I can tell you no media establishment will be in attendance. They'll be afraid. So what I believe is happening is that the state wants to use Blessed Mhlanga as an example of what can happen, as an intimidatory tactic, so as to sow fear into the media, so that they can self-censor. They will be afraid to carry this story of those who are opposing the 2030 agenda. If I can take you back to 1 or 2 years back, remember when that gold mafia Al Jazeera was released, gold mafia documentary was released by Al Jazeera.
Yes.
People like George Charamba and others actually threatened the media. They said that anyone who carries these lies, they called them lies, will hold them to account. What was that all about? How can it be lies if I, as a journalist, I'm just going to report what was reported in a documentary? Where would I have gone wrong? Even people like Hubert Angel threatened to sue any media outlet that carried that story. So you can, but they didn't go far with that because there's no legal basis for that. You know, it was there in an Al Jazeera documentary. So what is wrong with the journalist just reporting that according to the old Al Jazeera gold mafia documentary, this and this and that was said, this one said this and this one said this, and I just write it like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But that intimidation was meant to silence and to kill that gold mafia story. And I am seeing a repeat of it happening now. What the aim of the establishment is to silence the media so that they cannot carry stories that are against the 2030 agenda.
Right. You wrote in one of your blogs that the market, I mean, we're looking at the volatility of the local currency and how it is affecting our people. What do you make of what is happening right now? We are seeing the likes of OK closing, and recently, I think a day before yesterday, they announced the reshuffle of their top management, including the CEO. How is the market responding to all this infighting that is happening within ZANU-PF and everything that is happening? We are seeing shops closing, and there's a cut of aid in US aid. Some people that were working for NGOs, they lost their jobs. How is this? Do you think the government is interested at all in trying to address the challenges that like currency and the issue of the unemployment by people who were depending on US aid and the cutting of a drug supply by the government of Donald Trump? How do you assess the situation? I know you have written some of the things on your blog. Can you elaborate further how you assess the market and the developments of Geza in the past 4 weeks.
Yes, those are very good questions. How I can characterize it is like you see you have a house or a home that is on fire. And instead of the homeowners focusing on extinguishing the fire, they focus on fighting each other. Yet the house is burning, the home is burning, but they are more concerned about fighting each other. Zimbabwe has been under an economic crisis for the past 2 decades, even a bit more, since 2000.
Yeah.
So instead of seeing the government all hands on deck, trying to address these economic challenges, which are only worsening. You have mentioned, okay, Zimbabwe, some of these branches closing, currency volatilities, the cutting of aid, especially by the US. These are threats, or I can call them threats that are on our economy. And yet the government is not focused on that. I can tell you right now that with all these factional fightings that are happening within ZANU-PF, the country is on autopilot. There's no one who's flying this country. If anything, maybe the duties have been given to junior officers, maybe in the Ministry of Finance, or other junior officers or heads of departments, or whatever I can say. But you'll find that ministers themselves, wherever they are using those opportunities to campaign for the 2030 agenda. Where is the time you hear people meeting at this farm or that farm? What are they doing there? They are planning for the 2030 agenda to succeed. They are not sitting down and say, let's meet at this farm. Let's sit down. Let's address the electricity crisis. Let's sit down. Let's find out why, okay, Zimbabwe and Richards, Choppies and other supermarkets are closing. Let's address the currency volatility issues. Why is our local currency failing to stabilize? Sit down. If they spend as much time as they do plotting and strategizing and scheming about how to amend the constitution successfully and keep the president in power past 2030, as they did in addressing the challenges that are faced in this country, right now as we are talking, Zimbabwe would have changed. It doesn't take months to change the situation in Zimbabwe. Most of it, like the currency issues, they have to do with lack of discipline, opportunism, arbitrage, and speculative tendencies that are being driven by those that are in power. We already know that some of those behind the black market are people in power. They are not that Tom, Dick, and Harry that you find standing by the street saying to change Harry. Where would he get all that money from? It's coming from people in power who are getting that, selling and buying that money from the Reserve Bank at the official exchange rate, and they're bringing onto the street and sell it at a premium. So you'll find that even when we talk about the aid that you mentioned that has been cut by Donald Trump, let's remember Zimbabwe is one of the wealthiest countries in the world, in terms of the natural resources that we have. It's quite an embarrassment, to be honest with you, Mr. Rusike, that we find a country like ours with black granite, with lithium, which is in demand right now, diamonds, gold, you name it, chromium, and so forth, still waiting with a begging bowl and say, please, Mr. Trump, can you please help us with money to buy ARVs? Please, Mr. Trump, can you help us with money to buy this and this medication, or to help fight climate change? A country like ours, are we not ashamed? How do we even mix with those leaders on the international stage? And I can just imagine them meeting and mixing, and they're standing for their family photograph with other heads of state, and you stand there in confidence as one of the heads of state, and knowing that you are nothing more than a beggar. That is very embarrassing. We need now leaders with self-worth, with self-pride, and say, no, I'm a leader of a country with over 60 precious minerals. I'm not going to beg anyone for any money. I'm going to use those minerals to take care of my country. We'll buy our own ARVs with our own money. We will fight climate change with our own money. We will build hospitals, state-of-the-art hospitals, put in all the necessary cancer machines, dialysis, and everything that is needed there from our own money. Why are we not doing that? So you'll find that's where even now people are focusing on extending the presidential term limit and 2030 agenda, even to sponsor such things. That is expensive, to bribe all those people, the opposition or so-called opposition, everything. It needs money. Where would that money come from? From smuggling our minerals.
Right.
From and so forth, which should be used to buy ARVs. And then we complain that Donald Trump has cut aid and we are going to suffer. No, use that money instead of trying to bribe this opposition leader, bribe this activist, buy this, and so forth. Use the money for national development,
Right.
not for corruption.
On that issue,
You
Mr.
see.
Mofana, I think you also, maybe as we conclude, you spoke about the issue of opposition. There is a vacuum in the opposition in your blog, and you said that right now we are faced with the issue of Blessed Geza, and people are so clamoring in hope for Blessed Geza, and you cited that trusting in Blessed Geza, it would be a fatal mistake or a mistake that might come to bite us in the future, because it's almost like a deja vu of 2017, and there is no opposition to fill in that gap, to make sure that they stop and they call out corruption, they call out all these things that are happening that you are mentioning. What should the opposition do in Zimbabwe, and what do you think should be the best solution? Should people trust Geza, or the opposition needs to wake up, and the absence or the isolation of Nelson Chamisa, who was the biggest stakeholder of the 2023 election, what does it speak to you in these present times when we are seeing maybe the trepidation of the constitution and continual corruption and all these things that are happening?
Yes, it's another very embarrassing situation that we find ourselves in as Zimbabweans. Once beaten, twice shy. You know, I'm trying to think of that adage that if you fool me once, shame on you. If you fool me twice, shame on me. I think that is the saying.
Yeah.
We experienced this, Mr. Rusike, before in 2017.
Yes.
A lot of Zimbabweans, including the opposition itself, they were hoodwinked into supporting the military coup against Robert Mugabe. I remember, because that day was very traumatic. I watched on television the late MDC president Morgan Tsvangirai. At that time, he was very sick. He was in a hospital in South Africa, but he had to fly back home in that state. I could see him and say, oh man, look at this man. He's not feeling well. Why is he doing here? Because they had been convinced that this thing that we are doing here, if you support it, it's for the good of the whole of Zimbabwe. Will involve you in this whole thing, or even maybe form a transitional government or a government of national unity or something like that.
Yeah.
But immediately after removing Mugabe, when he was forced to resign, they reverted back to Chinuchedu. This is our thing. It has nothing to do with the opposition. So you'll find that the people of Zimbabwe were used for an agenda that was purely a ZANU-PF agenda. It had nothing to do with everyone else. So we are saying, what signs are there that the people of Zimbabwe can have confidence and say, this time it's different? The main players are the Blessed Geza, a ZANU-PF Central Committee member. Suddenly, all of a sudden, talking about corruption, nepotism, looting of state resources, poverty in Zimbabwe. Where was Blessed Geza last year? Where was Blessed Geza in 2023 when elections were stolen? Where was Blessed Geza in all these years that the people of Zimbabwe have been crying over the issues that he's now raising today? So those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves and say, wait a minute, because now we know that these are factional fightings that, just like we saw in 2017 between G40 with Grace Mugabe, Sevia Kasukuwere, Jonathan Moyo Mbota, Mzembe and others, and on the other hand, the Lacoste with Mhlanga and his people. It's happening all over again. So it becomes a bit problematic, but I do not blame the people of Zimbabwe per se. What I blame, like what you mentioned in my today's article, is where is the opposition? Because the people of Zimbabwe are desperate.
Yes.
Just like what they were in 27. We have suffered enough. We are suffering every day. Every day is a burden, is a big chore on how to feed our families, how to send our children to school, how to just make it through the day, where to get water, even in urban areas.
Yeah.
We have got so many challenges in Zimbabwe. So we need a savior. Zimbabweans are desperate for someone to just step up and say, okay, I'm here. I'm courageous enough to confront this government. Remember, this government has instilled fear in the people of Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
We have seen the atrocities, we have seen the barbarism, we have seen the arrests on trumped up charges. We're even talking about the media and Blessed Mhlanga, right, a few minutes back. But opposition leaders have been jailed, some held in captivity for nearly 2 years without even being allowed free on bail, and only to be found innocent. So yes, the people of Zimbabwe are afraid. We understand that. But they would need a leader. What is lacking is a bold leader.
Yeah.
So even if we say Nelson Chamisa, yes, we've seen what has happened with this Triple C, with Chabang coming on board, being sponsored clearly by the state to cause havoc and to disseminate the opposition, but still he's an influential figure. Remember, Blessed Geza is not representing any organization.
Yeah.
He's just talking and talking and talking.
Yeah.
So why can we? What excuse does the opposition have? Why don't we have a leader from the opposition, whether it's Chamisa or anyone else, doing exactly what Geza is doing? Just have press conferences and issue statements and so forth, rejecting the 2030 agenda boldly, and making all the demands against corruption, against nepotism, against the suffering of the people of Zimbabwe. But we are not seeing that. So the excuse that maybe Chamisa doesn't have a party at the moment and so forth, and so it doesn't hold water. You don't need a party. Geza now has become the man of the, the talk of the town, is the man of the moment. Which party is he representing? He's actually a ZANU-PF member, but he's not representing ZANU-PF. He's just an individual. Yes, they can say Liberators, platform, what, but he's not really representing any political establishment. He's just a man who has stepped up and say, I'm going to speak about this. I'm going to confront the leadership about this. But at the end of, so people who rally behind the person, he's saying what we wanted the opposition to be saying. Maybe our salvation is going to come through Geza, because the things that he's saying are the things that we want our leaders to be saying. But as I said, it's out of desperation. And desperation usually forces people to make wrong decisions because you are desperate. You are not thinking straight. So you run and support someone who, at the end of the day, if they use you, they say you are waiting for the signal. You get the signal. You go onto the street. You remove the current president, and they tell you again, we are back to 2017. What would we do? How surely are we expecting a ZANU-PF Central Committee member to suddenly, all of a sudden, care about the people of Zimbabwe? I do not think so. I honestly do not believe that. So, we don't hear anything new that they are saying that can really instill confidence in us and saying things are different. They want to even clean up ZANU-PF. And say, right, we know our party has lost direction. It's a good party, but it's only that it's been hijacked by these people, and we want to get rid of these people so that we can revert our party to how it was maybe during the Tepo days, during the liberation struggle. So, but we're not hearing that. And I would not even believe them if they were even going to say something like that. ZANU-PF corruption is built on corruption. It's a criminal enterprise. Everyone knows that. What they are just fighting for is that you have eaten. We also want to eat. So you are eating with your friends and your family. You have thrown us away. You didn't even fulfill your promises from 2017 that we are going to eat together. You have forgotten us. You are now eating with your friends and your families. So we also want to eat. We want to be on the gravy train. We want to be on the feeding trough. That's what they are fighting for. So once they succeed in removing this one,
so there is no national agenda at heart at all in their rhetoric. So you say?
There is no national agenda. There has never been a national agenda. Even the Vision 2030 was never a national program. It was an ambition by a leader to reach 2030 and disguised as a national agenda. So that's very unfortunate that we do not have a national agenda. We do not. We are just desperate people who need someone to come to step up and rescue us from this fire that is burning us.
Ruben Mbofana, thank you so much for coming through and giving us your thoughts on the happenings and the current affairs of what is happening in Zimbabwe. How do people find you, and what are the platforms that people can find you so that they can follow your blogs?
Thank you so much, Mr. Sike. People can follow me on WhatsApp. I've got a channel now, a WhatsApp channel. They can get me on 263-715-667700. That's plus 263-715-667700. Then I can always give them the link and they can follow my WhatsApp channel.
All right. You're also on X, Twitter?
Yes, on X, I'm on @Tendai Mbofana, @Tendai Mbofana. And on Facebook, they can just search for Tendai Ruben Mbofana and they'll find me on Facebook. Those are the main platforms that they can find me.
All right. Ruben Mbofana, thank you so much, my brother, for coming through to the show and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sika. I really appreciate this opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much. Right. That was Ruben Tendai Mbofana giving us his thoughts on the state of affairs of Zimbabwe and the current affairs of what is happening in our country. Great contribution that, and also earlier on we had Tonio. So if you are just joining us, you can go and rewind this and find this on YouTube, and you'll be able to hear the conversation that I had with Tonio, the chairman for Zimbabwe Online Content Creators, and also a journalist and the editor-in-chief for TechMag TV. So that is all that I have for you tonight. As usual, if you want to partner with JCTV Africa, the details are appearing under the screen. And for your own information, if you want to be part of our content creation, if you want to create content, if you want to learn how to create content, you are not doing politics like us or journalism like us, please get in touch with the numbers appearing on the screen. The course is costing you $30, which is about 560 rands. And the course is already there, it's already packaged. So what you just need is to pay the money, and then you get into the course and learn how to do content, because this is another side hustle that you can actually do, whether in Zimbabwe or you're outside Zimbabwe. It is very important for you to do that. Earlier on, we showed you a video of a man who is having a challenge with cancer, and they are requiring something like $35,000 for them to go and get treatment in India. That story is also been carried by Geza, so go and check that out as well. That being said, people of Zimbabwe and everyone that has been watching and everyone who liked and followed, please like this video. If you are still here, the number that is here, 126, please like this live broadcast and share it on your YouTube platforms, or share it in your groups so that everyone can learn or get something. That is a conversation that I had with you. I really want to say thank you to everyone who has been part of that conversation. I'll see you tomorrow, and it's good night and bye for now.